we'll start with a short breathing meditation. Keep yourself comfortable, relaxed. And keep your back straight. And keep your attentions in the mind on the breath. Then we can think the purpose of my life is to be help and benefit to others as much as possible. And the best way to help and benefit others is to help them to overcome their own afflictive emotions and help them to achieve true lasting inner peace, ultimate happiness. And to be able to help them to do that, first, I myself need to achieve the ultimate happiness, fully awakened state. To achieve that fully awakened state, I must actualize all the spiritual, positive inner qualities, such as true love, compassion, bodhicitta, wisdom, realizing emptiness, so forth. And by overcoming all the afflictive emotion obscurations, to do that, I need to continue to practice. Need to continue to study, learn. Therefore, I'm going to listen and engage in discussions. Okay, so we can do that. Is there some echo there? I don't. Oh, it's from my phone. I have to turn down on as far as I can.
To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one above beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, designed to know the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one above beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected and fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and true conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Short $1 offering in English. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Mary, for continents the sun and the moon. I imagine this in the living of Calvary. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. Refuge in Bodhicitta once in English and twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. My merits I create through listening to the Dharma, and I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodam Soti Chanmala, Jantuba Dindani Kyasuchi, Nage Chumyan Kepe Sonamji. Drala Mencha Sangye Drupa Jo Sangye Chakuna Soki Chanamala Sanchupa Dindani Kyasuchi Nage Chumyan Kepe Sonamji Drala Mencha Sangye Drupa Jo.
So the topic of today and next week is purifications, as requested by some students. And of course, there are many purification practices, and we are going to focus more on one particular practice related with this particular Buddha or deity, Vasasattva. Okay, so that the first purifications. What is purifications? How important it is, why important it is. We can talk a little bit about that, and then go more specific into the practice itself. First of all, like all different practices, different formal practices that you find in Buddhism, not all practice at the same form, there are many different formal practices. And all different form of practices are to train our mind. Different form, different method, different techniques, but for same reasons, for same purpose. The purpose of all those different meditation, different form of practice, including purifications, is to train our mind, to subdue our wild, crazy mind. To subdue that. That is the purpose. To discipline, to subdue those unsubdued, wild, crazy mind. So it is not separate. Practice such as purification is not something totally separate from the practice of training your mind. Subduing your mind is part of that. It is part of the practice of subduing your mind. So that is one thing that we have to be aware, recognize. Because it's due to our unsubdued mind, the wild, unsubdued, crazy mind, due to all this due to all those misconceptions, due to all these afflictive emotions that we suffer. Not only we suffer due to all these misconceptions, mistaken mind of those afflictive emotions, but also due to that, we create suffering to others. We suffer, not only we suffer due to those thoughts, mind, we create more pain and suffering to others through our attitude, our actions, our speech, and so forth. And so the root of all our problem and suffering is that to overcome and eliminate them, for our own peace as well as for the peace of others. So subduing the mind, this crazy, wild mind, what does that mean is, reducing those disturbing negative emotions, reducing as much as possible, and gradually, slowly, to eliminate all of them, eliminate all of them. How we do that? We do that by cultivating the opposing factors of the mind. The more you increase the heat, you reduce the coolness, because those two energies are opposing energies. When you increase one, you decrease the others. Same way, when we are able to cultivate those positive state of the mind, such as true love, compassion, bodhicitta, wisdom, and patience, and so forth, as we cultivate and increase stronger and stronger through the practice, meditations, then we are able to reduce the opposing mental forces of those negative those disturbing negative forces of mental state. And gradually, we can completely eradicate and eliminate completely. So that is how we subdue the mind. That is the meaning of subduing the mind. By reducing and overcoming them, and how we do by cultivating those opposing mental state, those positive mental states that contradicts those negative emotions. Mm? And part of that practice, for the success of those practice, to have better result from our meditation and practice, then many factors need to come together. Just like we spoke last time about dependent arisings, as we went through the Rise Settling Sutras, so for anything to happen, positive, negative, good, bad, if something bad happens, it's due to many factors. There's not just one factor. If something good happens, it's due to many factors, cause and condition, many factors. Externally, as well as internal world. If we are upset and angry, there are many factors. It's not just one factor. If we are feeling peace, compassion is not one factor. Many factors are involved there to be in that state of feeling patience, peace, compassion, understanding, whatever that. Many conditions need to come together. Many factors need to come together. So same, in order for us to success in our meditations, to have better result from our meditation and practice, so that we can have the spiritual realizations, so that can act as the antidote or opposing force that can reduce and eliminate those disturbing negative emotions. Then many factors, many causes need to come together. And one of the factors in that, making that happen, is the practice of purifications. One of the factors that support for better practice or better result of the practice is the purifications. Mm? Maybe we try to look in the external world and take that example, and then try to apply that in our internal world. Then maybe sometime it can be helpful. For example, when you are trying to plant something, vegetable, fruit trees, flower, whatever plant you are planting, in order to have a good plant from what you are planting, good result, there are many factors that you need. Of course, very healthy, good seed. That will be one of the most important factors. You need a seed, not only seed, good, healthy seed. But it is enough. It's not enough just by having that seed. You need a place to grow it, whether in the water, ground, earth, wherever. And even that, in order for it to grow fully to its full potentials and good, there are many factors. There are many conducive conditions that you need to gather, as we mentioned in the Rise Settling Sutras. The water, the heat, the space, the weather, the climate, many factors. It all has to come right away. Another factors that help is to eliminate all the interference that could interfere for the plant to grow healthy and good. Maybe there's too much stone, and so that the root cannot take very well, and the root is not stable, and it cannot go deep. So then that might be one of the reason why it cannot grow healthy and good. So you need to clear all these rocks so that root can be deep and spread and be healthy. Sometimes there are many weeks that is taking all the energies, all the water, everything, and therefore the plant you have planted is not getting enough. Even you are giving water, is not getting enough because others are taking all of that. You need to clear those wheat, And there can be many other factors, others that can be destroying the root, the seed, that. So you have to clear all of that. You clear all those that can interfere from its growing, and you try to gather all the conditions. And then all coming, when all these factors come together, the plant will grow healthy and is the full potentials. I think we can understand that, isn't it? It's something that is something we observe, we experience, we see quite often around us. That kind of functionings or reality, not only in the external world, it also applies to internal world of our, our mind, our internal world of the mind. So if we are trying to cultivate certain plant of spiritual realizations, positive state of mind, we want to plant and grow it through the practice, meditations. The purpose to do practice meditation so that we can, plant a seed, and so that we can have a result, of spiritual realizations, spiritual experiences, true experiences such as true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, wisdom, patience, all those different kind of spiritual experiences, realizations, all those positive state of minds. That's why we want that plant of those. In order to have the plant of those spiritual realizations or experiences, then we engage in meditation practice, like planting the seed. But in order that seed to grow fully, to its full potential, to have those spiritual experience or realization, then we need many other supporting factors, just like that plant, external plant need that. So, there are many practices such as we call accumulating merit. There are many different practices of accumulating merit. Those are the practices that are part of the conducive conditions that support that seed of your meditation practice. And then just like clearing those interference, whether it is clearing the rock, clearing the weeds, clearing others that is taken, purification does that. That purification function that function that. And so when like planting the seed, good meditations or the practice, and then conducive conditions, and then purifications, clearing all the interferences, And when all these come together, then you have better result. Better result from your practice meditations. That is one of what all the great masters have found. That is their experience. So that is the functionings of purification and that is why purification becomes also a very important part of the practice for training the mind, so that we can have those spiritual realizations. And through those spiritual realizations, we can reduce those disturbing negative emotions. The more stronger patience you have, the less impatient you are, the less frustrated you are. The more compassion you have, the less angry and upset you get. The more stronger bodhicitta you have, the less selfish attitude you have. The more stronger wisdom you have, the less ignorance you have. And so that by cultivating those plants of those inner, qualities of spiritual realization or inner virtues, mind, or spiritual experience, whatever you call them, then through that we can reduce and destroy those disturbing negative emotions. And so that's the role of the purification. That's the role of the purification. How the purification play a role in our practice meditations. There are many stories of great masters, including Ksitigarbha, who was the founder of our lineage we follow. Even though he had been meditating for a long time, he had struggles to have the realizations, the correct realization of the emptiness. It's not that he has been not meditating. He has been meditating for so many years, but still he struggled. And when he asked to Manjushri, the advice given was that you need to combine the practice of purification and accumulation method while you continue to do the meditations. And when he dedicated himself to combine all this practice together, then that's when he had the result. That's when he had the realizations, spiritual realizations of the emptiness, the correct realization of emptiness. He had that when he combined those practices together as being advice. And so that is story of many, many great masters, while they have been meditating, but sometimes there's blockage, one cannot make any further progress. You might make little progress, but unable to make further progress, even though you meditate for so long times and practice for so long time. Get stuck somewhere, get stuck or blockage. And in those times, then when they integrate it to support the meditation, the purification, accumulation merit, and then that is the way the click happens. That is where then they started to overcome the blockage, overcome the where they have been stuck, and to be able to have, move forward and have realization. And that is therefore there is advice from the Kadamba masters, They say, sometimes when you try to meditate, whatever topic you are meditating, you might be meditating on emptiness, you might be meditating on bodhicitta, you might be meditating any deity, whatever subjects, sometimes we struggle, sometimes we cannot focus, unable to focus sometimes, Even maybe you are able to focus quite well generally, but then there are certain times you struggle to focus. You just try to sit there, but you are unable to sit. Of course, body is there, but your mind is not able to sit. Your mind is going everywhere, crazy, and you sit there so that you can bring your mind in that moment, but you struggles, Or you're trying to meditate because you are upset and frustrated and to calm down, but you get more frustrated and more upset and more angry as you started to think, as you sit, So, or sometimes is, that you have very strong desire that is bothering you, or fear really, and then in order to kind of quiet and calm, you're trying to sit and do practice meditation to quiet that fear, worry or desire. But again, instead of it started to increase more and more. Fear become more stronger and stronger. Your worry become more stronger and stronger, more intense. Your desire become more stronger than that. So, you struggle. You are trying to meditate, but you struggle to have good effect and result. And in such cases, the Kadamba master's advice is in such cases when you're dead, then they say, get up, do some purification practice or accumulation method. And then after you have done that, then you sit and do the practice, and then you can have better result. So they say, get up, do some frustrations or some other form of purifications, or do some mandala or other form of practice to do the accumulation method. And because sometimes those factors are missing, and then we struggle. And so once you gather those factors and then you sit, then again you have better result. Instead of pushing yourself, and getting more frustrated because you want to be calm, but not being able to calm down yourself and get more frustrated and more frustrated. So that is one of the advice they give. And so definitely, as I mentioned, for spiritual realization, those many factors, conditions have to come together to have good result in anything. If you want to be successful in whatever field you want, be successful in order to success in all those whatever field, many factors have to come together. It's not just one factors. To have a good health, many factors have to come together. To be able to successful in your job, your field, many factors have come together. In order to have a healthy relationship, many factors have to come together. It's not just one factors. Same way, dealing with our internal world or practice meditation, also many factors have to come together. When all the factors come together, then you have better result, less struggles, the practice become more easier, and also better result, quicker result, because all the conditions have come together. And so that is the purification is one of those factors. One of those factors that's crucial. Mm, mm. 那么从 Kava in his Lamrim in his writing on the Lamrim Chemo, he write, sometime, when we listen to the teachings or when we read the teachings, you are unable to retain the words that you have heard or the words that you have just read, unable to retain. You hear it and you slip away. I heard something. What did he say? Immediately or sometime after we're out of this combat, he said something, but now I don't remember. Or I saw something. When I was reading the book, I saw something important and helpful, but I cannot remember. So unable to retain that. Sometimes we have that issue. Sometimes we are able to retain the words, but we are unable to understand the meaning, that correct and that meaning of that. We struggles. You see the words, you can remember the words, you can retain the words from whether you listen, from listening, whether watching, whether reading, but then we cannot understand the true deep meaning of that. Unable to understand. Sometimes you understand, but you forget. When we're debating, many things, and certain difficult points, sometimes only there's a moment of kind of, awakening. Oh, that is what it means. Either by contemplating yourself, whether by reading different commentaries, or sometimes you hear from your teachers, their explanations. And sometimes, just something that you have taught a lot of times because it's a difficult point and you couldn't just, and then those moments. But then after some time, you forget. There's something, points here, but now what is that point? So these are things like that, even when you are able to retain the words, but unable to understand the true deep meaning of that statement, that words, that statements. So sometimes we have that issue, struggles. And sometimes we not only retain the words, we are able to remember and understand the correct deep meaning of the word or the statements, all of that. But when you try to meditate, we struggle to have realizations, the spiritual experience or spiritual realizations. We meditate, but in terms of cultivating the spiritual realization or the experience, we struggle. So those different struggles that we could face, and Lam Tsongkhar advised when we have those kind of struggles, then he says, the P instructions or advice is by relying on holy objects, so accumulation of merit. And that can help, that can support and help those practice, can help and support to overcome those struggles. Those three kind of different struggles that one can have. So again, he gave that advice. And because he himself went through that struggles early, and by applying those practice together, then he was able to have the result, the spiritual realization or experiences. And based on his own experiences, he shared that, Milereva experienced the same. same. At the very beginning of his life, he created such a strong negative karma, killed so many sentient beings, human and animals. Later, he regretted that. Later, he took the path, Dharma, he dedicated. But at the very beginning, his teacher, Marva, who understood him very well and his karma very well, gave him a lot of purifications practice. He never gave him actually any meditation instructions. Whenever he asked for that, he would kick him out. He would kick him out. He would drag him out. How dare you come to the teachings? So he gave him all those different, building, taking it down, building, taking it down, all those different things as a part of purifications, because there was so much negative karma. And without purifying that, Martha knew that he wouldn't be able to have the realizations which he has the potential. He saw that he has incredible potential to make a huge progress and have such a big realizations. But at the same time, without purifying all those so many strong negative karma, even he give all the instruction, even he do all the meditations, if he hasn't purified, he wouldn't be able to achieve the realization. So Malva exactly knew that, and that is why he put him into all these incredible purifications, And because Milarepa went through all this purification, later, when he was given teachings, instruction, advices, and when he meditated, he was able to make progress so quickly, so fast, and have such a very high realizations, And because of all the, condition that he had created in terms of purifications and accumulation merit, especially in that purification. So that is, if we take, so many examples of some of the great masters, you can see how those purification make huge contributions or factors in your spiritual. Milarepa also, again, he's saying from based on his experience, he mentioned, without purifying the negative karma, you are not even suitable to receive the teaching on emptiness. Even to be suitable to receive the teaching on emptiness, you need to purify, and forget about realizations. If you need a realization, this is just even to being suitable to receive the teaching on emptiness. You need a purifications. Without the purification, you wouldn't be even suitable to receive them. The empty meditation, teaching on emptiness. And then definitely, if you want to have a realization, for sure, you need a purification, for sure, And again, similarly, I think because Marva knew that he needed purification, though he didn't give the teachings at the very beginning, Because even he was not suitable at that point. And if you're not suitable, then even you receive it, you wouldn't understand fully, correctly, fully. Even you do understand correctly, but you wouldn't have realization, even you try to meditate for long times. So that is a little bit on, why purifications is important. Why purification is important, and the role the purification play in our spiritual practice path. spiritual experience and realizations. So then, very important is to understand, how we use our life in the moment present, So in the moment present, we try to avoid any kind of engaging or creating any kind of negative karma as much as possible. Past, you cannot change so much. Done is done. Future is unknown. What you have is the present. So in the present, you try to avoid creating or engaging in creating any kind of negative actions or karma through our physical actions, through our speech, through our mental state, attitude and so forth. We try to refrain, we try to avoid as much as possible. Instead, we try to create and engage into as much as possible in the virtues, positive karma actions, that help benefit others and oneself as much as possible in your thought, through your speech, through your actions. That's what we do. By doing that, future is more or less taken care of. By doing that, future is like, you are investing now where you have good results in the futures. So you don't have to wait so much future because you are invested very healthy and positive and good way. So that it is, so that is one thing. So we don't have to worry and think so much about what might happen, what the future, but as long as you are doing the right thing in the moment, in the present, creating those conditions, better conditions. So what about the past? What about the past? That all the negative karma, all the non-virtuous actions that we have already created. What about that? And for that, again, we can also take care of that through purifications. Whatever negative karma, no matter how strong, how powerful, how worse negative karma or actions, potential that we might have created in the past, if we do the purifications correctly, right, we can purify them. We can all purify them. It's possible. It's possible to purify. One, because those negative karma are not permanent. They can be changed. They can be transformed. They are also transitory, impermanent, ever-changing nature. So through different conditions, through the practice of purifications, then we can change them. We can transform them, and purify them. They are not inherently existing. They are not permanent. They are impermanent. They are not inherently existing. Therefore, they can be clear. They can be purified. They can be transformed. They can be changed. So again, having that understanding, trust is very important for the purifications. To really have a strong convictions that those, no matter how bad negative karma I might have created, knowingly, unknowingly, in whatever situation, condition that I might have created, knowing that those negative karma are not in hidden existence. They are not permanent. Therefore, since they are not in hidden existence, since they are not permanent, since they are transitory, impermanent, they can be clear, they can be purified, they can be changed by changing the conditions. And the purification is one of those, factors and conditions that we can clear, purify, cleanse, and transform, so that's if you don't, when we do purifications, if you don't have that strong convictions and understanding, then your practice might not be so powerful, effective, But if you have strong convictions, strong understanding, and strong convictions in that understanding, then when you do purification practice, it becomes more powerful, more effective in clearing and purifying those negative potential or karma, all the negative karma potential that's left in our mind stream, then one can clear them, purify them. So that is one important factors to have that strong understanding, strong conviction in that. And also sometimes it can be helpful also to understand through different examples from the histories, in during the Buddha's Nagarjuna in one of his writing, Precious Garland. In his Precious Garland, the title of the text, in the Precious Garland, he writes, just as the moon, which has been obscured by the cloud, that can be clear. The moon can be clear of that obscuration cloud when the condition change. Then the cloud's there and it's obscuring the moon. But when that condition change, the moon can be clear of these obscurations of the clouds. In the same way, he mentions, our moon-like mind, clear mind, moon-like clear mind, which has been obscured now by the negative karma and the delusions due to many conditions, that can be also clear of those obscurations of all these delusions and the negative karma when the condition changes. And he gives example of certain individuals, he said, like Angulamala, Ajanta Sutta, Ajanta Satru, and then Ninda or Nanda, and he gives those some examples. Angulamala was one of the individuals at the Buddha's time who killed 999 people. Angulamala, mala means garland, angula means the nail. Misled by one of the, misled by one of the teachers, then he went in the wrong directions and then goes to kill 1,000 people. And so each time he killed one, take the name and then have in his garlands. So that is his nickname. Everyone know as Uncle Mala, but probably his name was different, you know. So he killed 999 in that life, and thousands. When it was 1,000, then Buddha happened to pass through that. Buddha saw it was time to subdue. No, it's the right time. And Buddha passed through that, and then he was trying to catch the Buddha so that he can have his last persons, so he can have 1,000. But of course, Buddha being Buddha, no matter how much he ran, he couldn't catch. Always Buddha's a little bit ahead. When he looked, it like Buddha was not running, just peacefully walking. And he was running, chasing, running. But always the gap is always like that, so anyway, and then, then he says, stop, and Buddha stop, and then they have conversations, and through that Buddha subdue him, change his mind, and then, direct him in the Dharma, give up creating such negative karma and taking the life and so on. And so he followed the Buddhas, he became a monk and followed the Buddhas and dedicated his life into his practice, And then in that very lifetime, he achieved Arhat. Arhat, is who have achieved liberation, nirvana in that lifetime. So someone who has so much negative karma, not to talk about from the past, but even that life, killing one human beings is very negative karma, strong negative karma. 999 is, you can imagine. Even someone with such a strong negative karma, after regretting that, and then, changing the attitude, and through purifications, and then practice meditation, then, he was able to achieve such a result, So Nagarjuna give that one example of him, how even someone who has created so much negative karma, through purification and training the mind, that we can achieve. That's what it means. We haven't created as that negative karma. Ajanta Satru was another prince who killed his parent. Again under the misguidance of friend. In order to rule the kingdom, his father was the king and he was the prince. And as you see in many histories, for the power, so he took his own father's life, imprisoned him, and gradually his father died from that, in order to take the power by himself, and then in the process, his mother also died because of everything that, so he killed that both, But later he regretted what he had done. He really regretted. He went to see the Buddha, asked for advice, help. He was, after he regretted, he fall into very depressions, overwhelmed by all this regret, guilt. He couldn't function properly as a leader, as another person. He was unable to. So that's when he went to seek the help of the Buddha. And then again, Buddha helped him through, teachings and advices to help him to uplift his mind, come out of that feeling of depression, guilt, all of that, and then, guide him skillfully in purifications, and then through teaching, practice, after he continued to practice, again, he achieved, a state of, I think, what you call stream interest, one of the not arhat, but Arya beings, So again, especially in the teaching, they talk about 5 most strongest negative karma, and that's killing your father, killing your mothers, killing Arhat, um, wounding the Buddhas, and then I think dividing the sanghas. Those are some of the most. And so again, he created those 2 of them. Even in that, again, with that kind of purification and the practice, he was able to transform his mind, train his mind, and then achieve high level of realizations. So that was one example, again, Nagarjuna mentioned in that.
So if somebody, could you describe to me what it means to somebody? Like, I know what it means to take care of a plant in a garden. We give it water and good soil and make sure the weeds don't take. But what is it for a person? I just don't understand it. I don't understand.
There's a mental garbage, and we have to clear those mental garbage. Purification.
But how do we do that?
So then there are many practices.
Yeah.
And which we'll go through that. Today we are going to one practice. What's sort of a practice? But of course, there are many different practices to do that. Just as when you need to clear the garbage, there are many different ways. You can vacuum, you can sweep, so many different ways to clear it's not only just one way to clear your garbage, Some people might use broom.
Clear my own garbage. Like, I think I have a lot of bad karma, and I don't know how to clear it.
So we'll come to that. We'll come to that. We'll come to that. We'll come to that. So that is a little bit what I'm saying is to have the convictions, understanding convictions, no matter how negative karma, how strong negative karma we might have created, if we do the purification correctly, rightly, it can be purified. So in order to have that conviction, then, using the external example with a plant, using those example of these individuals that Nagarjuna mentions, how they were able to achieve high realization, even they have created such a strong, intense negative karma, and thereby if they can be clear of those negative karma, they can clear those negative karma and delusions, so can we. We have the same potential in terms of the potentials. And so that should give us convictions in ourselves, instead of saying how horrible I am and how horrible thing I have done is doom. Do you get it? Instead of being doomed, because I created all this negative karma, I've done this, therefore there's no hope for me. Instead of feeling that, you should be very hopeful that even those beings who have created even more negative karma, they were able to make such progress. And same, if I can make effort in purification and practice meditation, I can also make progress. So to have that convictions is important. So that is why Nagarjuna shared that story. That's why I'm sharing the stories of that. Also, it is important to understand, even though our mind is being polluted contaminated, diluted by negative karma, delusions, obscurations. But those contaminations, whether it's a negative karma, whether it's the delusion, whether it's the obscurations, they are not contaminated or diluted in the nature of the mind. The nature of our mind is pure, clear, undiluted, unpolluted, uncontaminated in its nature. That understanding plays a big role also here. Otherwise, then we feel we are like, originally bad. By nature, we are bad. Originally bad, originally sinners. Sometimes maybe you might not believe it, but because you live in such culture, still there's something sometimes, And I think sometimes I always wonder, that is why maybe I feel in the West, people have, compared to the other side of the culture that I come from, compared to in the West, I feel that in the West, people have more negative image of themselves. More negative image of themselves, more harsh on themselves. They seem to be more negative image of themselves, low self-esteem, more self-hatred, and all of that. And sometimes I wonder that might be influenced by the culture, which the culture is very much influenced by belief in that ordinarily we are sin, ordinarily we are bad. In Buddhism, it's totally opposite. It's totally opposite. Originally, or the nature of your mind is pure, undiluted, uncontaminated, in its nature. All these obscurations, delusions, contaminations, pollutions of the negative karma, delusion, obscurations, they're so temporary. Just like Nagarjuna said, there's like the clouds, they are just a temporary. They are not the nature of the moon itself. They are not the nature of the sky itself. If it's the nature of the moon, it can never be clear of that. If it's the nature of the sky can never be clear of those, no matter what you do, because it's the very nature of that. Cannot be clear of that. That's what it is, nature being. But since it is not nature, but instead it's a temporary, therefore they can be clear. And so understanding that is another important factors. As Nagarjuna said in one of his writing, I'm showing Durba, praise to the Dhammadadu. He gave examples, sometimes metal garment, like metal garment, like maybe in the war or others you wear the metal, or even maybe not necessarily war, other times. Metal garment, when it's stained, then you put in the fire to clear the stain. While the stain is burned and destroyed, it doesn't destroy the garment, the metal itself. He gives an example. Through the fire, our mind is stained. At the moment, our mind is stained, contaminated by the delusions, negative karma, and the obscurations. But when we burn down those obscurations stained by the wisdom fire, that wisdom fire destroy and burn the stain of the negative karma, delusion, obscuration, but it doesn't burn the mind itself, just like the garment, because the very nature of that mind is unstained in its nature. So what it destroys just sustain. So again, through the using those examples and to have convictions, we can clear those negative karma, no matter how strong, how much, how intense, no matter having that convictions will be important factors, because sometimes I hear and I observe people doing purification practice, but then they started to doubt whether it's working or not, whether it can really purify or not, or whether it's really purifying or not, all this kind of doubt. And when you have that doubt, then even you do the purification, then the practice doesn't become as powerful, effective as it should, because you are doing with two-minded. You are not doing with full mind, fully in there, because your mind is two-minded. Your mind is doubt, And so to have those understanding and conviction become important, so that practice become effective, much strong. So that is something that I wanted to kind of talk about. Then coming into the practice itself, the purification practice itself, we can talk about ultimate purification practice and conventional relative purification practice. And in terms of conventional or relative purification practice, then there are many different forms of purification practice. By relying on 35 Buddhas, the practice in relation 35 Buddha, frustrations. By relying on such as Vajrasattva, the Buddha of purity, and the mantras in relation to that, the purifications, the recitation of sutra in general, and especially certain sutras that is related with special purifications, such as the powerful practice also for purifications. Even in that, if you read even in that very sutta, it mentioned about that. When you recite, whether you commission to write or you write it yourself, whether you recite, whether you contemplate, by doing all of that, you purify so much negative karma, such as, let's say, negative karma to be born in one of the realms. By having purified that, you could experience some challenge in this life, but it's a good sign. When you talk about the benefit of reciting that, and he said, I will not say all the benefit, otherwise you will get crazy. But he said, I can explain some of the benefit of reciting and studying, reflecting, all of that. And so one of that is that, so again, such as reciting some of them, and, meditating on emptiness, creating as a purification, as a way to purify, creating holy objects, whether it's a printing or supporting to print the Dharma books, or, statues, temples, so forth, yeah. So there are many different practice of purifications, but here we are going to talk mainly on Vajrasattva practice that has been kind of requested. Okay. So I think for today we will have just that. So it is more kind of general, what you call, introductions, why purification is so important and what it means, what does purification means and why it's important, you know, uh, especially in our spiritual path, you know. Okay, a couple of questions, if anyone questions, whether in online, in persons. Yes, please.
You mentioned the Diamond Sutra, repeating the
Reciting.
reciting the Diamond Sutra.
Yeah. There are any sutra, but of course there are certain sutras which is more powerful for purifications, and Dhammakata is one of those sutras. You know. Yes, please.
Would the heart sutra be one of these as well?
It should be, you know, even though there is no clear mentioning in the Heart Sutra itself. Of course, in Dhammakata Sutra, there's Buddha actually mentioning of that. In that sutra, when he talk about the benefit of, you know, memorizing, reciting, studying, writings, you know, contemplating different benefits. Each benefit get more, stronger and stronger or high. And in that, he talked about the benefit of that is that through that, one of the benefits is that you purify, you know, such as even you have created negative karma to be born in one of the world's lower realms by reciting and so forth, by purifying that, by having purified that, as a result, you could have, you know, some type of headache, which is a good sign compared to experience headache, then taking a rebirth in negative, one of the worst law. So it's a good sign. It's a sign of purification, of purify that negative karma. Sometimes you could have just small headache or some small obstacles or challenges. So he talked about that. So since that Pasana Paramita Sutra and also Asura Pasana Paramita Sutra, so in general, they should be in more or less same categories, I would think. Yeah. Yes, please.
I have a question. I don't know if it's about last time when the three of you were here. It's just like how does it come that the monks are sent, or what is the journey of the monks first time that you are here, or how did that happen?
Sometime. So again, it is not always same. Just as we talk during that time, we all went in monastery with a different. Why we go to monastery is not always same intention, same way. Also, when many of them leave monastery, and the reason they leave is also not same, different. Why myself and many others monks are in the West, also very different reasons, you know, not always same. In my cases, you know, was sent by my teachers. And my teachers had at the very beginning, you know, in Taos, the international office of my teachers' organization at PMT was in Taos. At that time, they asked my teachers if he could send one Geshe to help them in the office as well as to help with the study group here. So my teacher got requests from the community here in the office and also people who are part of the study group. And so my teacher sent me there. That's how I first came. I was here 2.5 years and I went back. And then again, I came back in 2013 after being away for 10 years. Again, it's the same. The group in Santa Fe, where I taught here in Santa Fe when I was here in 2001, they sent a letter requesting my teacher to send me, you know, few letters, and also I got a letter from the international office to consider coming. And I wasn't sure what that is what I want to do or not. So I was trying to contemplate myself to make the decisions. I took 6 months, I couldn't decide. I couldn't decide which is more beneficial, to come here or do other things that I wanted to do there. So when my teachers came, I said, I cannot make decisions. I will ask my teacher, whatever he says, I follow that. So I went and asked Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, I got this letter from international office asking me, the group here, that, and also I have other things that I want to do there. And I cannot think of what will be more beneficial in long term. And then my teacher did some observations, and then he said there is some obstacles to do what I want to do, kind of retreat. And he said it comes very good, beneficial to go here. So that is how I end up for the second time.
And
So
we're
that
so glad you did.
Thank you. So that is in my cases, Some cases maybe they have the request from other friends, others to establish a center and that. And so that's on the basis of those, so it can be for different reasons, not necessarily the same, so, and also, as mentioned in last time, different monastery function differently, and it's not same universal. All of them are very independent, established by one teachers, and they have their own curriculum, they have their own rules. Of course, generally, there is a general rules of the monks and nuns that we follow from the Buddha, but in terms of monastery rules, each of them have very different, established by their teachers who established, unlike I think maybe church and many others, we don't have one umbrella who looks everything, all independent. Of course, spiritually, Dalai Lama is spiritual leader or Tibetan Buddhist, but he doesn't have any control. If someone doesn't listen to him, he doesn't have any control to dispel them or not dispel them. He doesn't have that power, control that. If they listen to what he says, that is, if he doesn't listen, then he doesn't have that power to do that, and same within the individual different tradition, they have their leaders. In our tradition, there's a Gandha, but again, it's just spiritual. He doesn't have any power to dismiss if someone misbehave, and he cannot dismiss. He doesn't have that power, Individual monastery does have, so it's very individual, So the monastery, because individual also financially everything they do themselves. They don't get any support from the higher. They don't have this institution like that where they have power and the money, and then through that they go to there, and then it's all individual monastery who founded them. They started to raise them and running. So that is why also individuals have different, So in like in monastery, like we grew up in like Sera or Kopan, those are the two monasteries I grew up, You study and graduate. Some will not graduate because maybe they cannot study, so they can volunteer to serve the monasteries, But once you have graduated, then or you serve the monasteries or other places where they need the help of monastery in the villages. Maybe they said, we need a monk, teachers to help to do the ceremony or to help to teach or to run a school or whatever different requests that they might have. They might be sent to those places, or they might continue to serve the monastery in different roles as a teachers, as an administration in the different departments. And then some of them decide to leave the monasteries and have their normal family life. So, yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? If not, then we'll do the dedications.
So on our list, we dedicate the merit from listening to these teachings and preparing to do purification practice. To the people on this list and on people on or beings on prayer lists everywhere. Those suffering, those dealing with obstacles, Diane L. Britt, Mary Jo, Rob Newton, Jana, Matt, Christopher, Ellen Archuleta, Ron Windsor, Wyatt, Raquel, Kennedy. Those with illnesses, Rob N., Andy L., Joe W., Mary G., Sarah, Dana, Joanne Lutz, Bill, Patty, Jill, Jane, Rolf, and Philippe. And those who have recently died, Robert Redford, Charlie Kirk, Mice, Squirrel, Dorothy, Lucky the dog, Contessa the dog, David Elliott, Tyler Doas, Ernesto, Astrid, Larry Wood, and Jane Goodall.
Did you please add to the death of a dog named Daisy?
A dog named what?
Daisy.
Daisy?
AISY. She died yesterday. Thank you.
So our general dedication prayers. Oh, we'll do it in English. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions,
May I quickly attain
and lead all the living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May this free rule of Chitta, that it is not constant, rise and grow. And may that
that which has arisen,
and
not diminish, but increase more and more.
I prayer for His Holiness, the wish granting, wish fulfilling jewel, the source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, that incomparably kind, tense, and yet so I beseech. May all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And for finding Lama Zopa Rinpoche's reincarnation, peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones. Our best as the Buddhas, victorious lost of heaven's sons, along with the lineage masters, all the elders of the future and lands. Please listen the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holy and spreading the Buddha's precious and complete teachings, through explanation and practice, you are the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru to your unending rests. While striving singly with the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the soul gateway through which all benefit and happiness is nourished. And from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace, a great office. Nevertheless, for the undeceiving truth, the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels, and the great waves of Bodhicitta, the children of the victorious ones, May the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for the fortunate disciples.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you,
very much.
Geshe.
Thank you. Good night.
The song in our Michigan called Georgia. And we already had the Punch Lama was